Our scripture reading today comes from Paul's second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4. But just as we have the same spirit of faith that is in accordance with Scripture, I believed and so I spoke, we also believe, and so we speak, because we know that the one who raised Jesus will raise us also with Jesus and will bring us with you into God's presence. Yes, everything is for your sake, so that grace, as it extends to more and more people, may increase thanksgiving to the glory of God. So, do not lose heart. Even though our outer nature is wasting away, our inner nature is being renewed day by day. For this slight momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory beyond measure, because we look not at what can be seen, but at what cannot be seen. For what can be seen is temporary, but what cannot be seen is eternal. May these words be to us our light and our life. Thanks be to God. Well, I must admit that I have not been keeping up with the Kardashians. For those of you like me who have never watched the now more than 10 seasons of this reality TV show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, you still, though, might know a few things about what is possibly the most overexposed family in this country. The names of the daughters, I'll start with K. Kim married Kanye. Khloe married Lamar for a few months at least. And their mom, Kris, also spelled with a K, was married to former Olympic champion Bruce Jenner. Now, the spotlight on this family has intensified in these past few weeks after Bruce Jenner told Diane Sawyer in an April interview, quote, "I am a woman." And then this past Monday, a photo of Jenner appearing on an upcoming cover of Vanity Fair magazine was revealed with the caption, "Call me Caitlyn." That's Caitlyn with a C, by the way. "24 hours later, Caitlyn Jenner's Twitter account had 2 million followers. Make that 2,000,001. How many of you have seen this picture? Well, I doubt I will ever be able to keep up with the Kardashians, but Jenner's coming out has become important. She's become a symbol of hope and truth and courage for many, many people. Now, here in this congregation, we applaud anyone who comes out. No one should have to live in fear because of who they are and whom they love. We abhor the discrimination and judgments that limit dignity and self-worth. We believe in truth, the truth of our inner experience, and that deeper, divine truth that sets us free. I'm reminded of the story of how Michelangelo carved his famous statue, David. Michelangelo started with a piece of marble that had been rejected by other sculptors. They believed the marble was ruined and unworthy of sculpting. But Michelangelo could see inside the marble, and he saw David. Michelangelo said that all he had to do was chip away all the parts that weren't David to reveal him. Paul, in in his letter to this church in Corinth, says that sometimes we get trapped in our outer nature, strangled by the perceptions and labels and judgments that others put on us or that we put on ourselves. From the various accounts of Paul's life, we know that he endured discrimination, stonings, beatings, banishment, death threats, and imprisonment. He suffered greatly trying to follow Jesus, and those in the early Christian movement suffered as well. But Paul cautioned them to not over-identify with their outer struggle, with the perceptions swirling around them. Rather, he encouraged them to focus on the path of inner renewal to which God had called them. He reminds them that ultimately we can't control what others think or do. Our outer nature is temporary. It's a temporary version of ourselves that ultimately will decay if it is disconnected from our true selves. It is in the inner life where the enduring, the immeasurable can be discovered. That is where we discover our true selves that reflect this glory of God. Therefore, says Paul, do not lose heart. Terry Coffey didn't think Caitlyn Jenner was brave or deserving of being called a hero. He wrote a Facebook post that some of you may have seen that said, quote, "As I see post after post about Bruce Jenner's transition to a woman and hear words like bravery, heroism, and courage, I just thought I'd remind all of us what real American courage, heroism, and bravery looks like," end quote. And along with these words, he posted a picture of a soldier carrying a wounded soldier on his back while the wounded soldier was shooting something behind him. This post went viral this week as well. And because of all the attention it got, the poster decided to find out who took the picture to give him credit. It turns out the photographer had staged this scene as part of a miniature World War II model that he'd been working on while recovering from brain damage after a beating outside a bar. The reason he was beaten, Terry Coffey discovered, was because he admitted that he liked to wear women's clothing. Terry posted this discovery as well, saying, quote, "I could have chosen one of hundreds of other photos, but I didn't. I chose this one. Do I think it was an accident? I don't. What happened to this man was wrong, cruel, and unforgivable. Hate helps nothing. Love wounds no one. And God heals all." End quote. We cannot overlook the suffering that those in the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and questioning community have endured. As a straight person, I must also be careful not to blindly universalize the experience of coming out. No matter how profound my own struggle to reveal my true self might be, it is different for me, a person of privilege, than it is for someone who has been marginalized, judged, persecuted, and experienced discrimination. We cannot lose heart, but it is even more important that we offer a word of hope to folks on the margins whose hearts have already broken. A recent survey revealed that 41% of transgender persons have attempted at least one suicide. And transgender women of color experience 3 times the rates of violence, poverty, and homelessness of any group in this country. If we are, like Paul suggests, to extend God's grace to more people, then let's make sure we include those who are most vulnerable, who are living on the edge, hiding in the shadows, swallowed up by despair. To do this, To do this, we must find reassurance. We must daily awaken to the worn-out images of ourselves that we cling to and seek that renewal that Paul says springs from God. We got a dose of assurance this morning, I think, from that beautiful Psalm 23. Surely goodness and mercy follows us. How can we hold on to that assurance and bring that good news with us to others? And here's a wake-up call. Michael Shaw wrote in his Huffington Press article this week about Caitlyn Jenner's coming out. In it, he points out, while celebrating this coming out story, he points out the sad irony of Jenner's choice to come out on the cover of Vanity Fair, wishing that this moment could go beyond vanity. He writes, quote, "There's something weird in a culture when the exhibition of vanity is so equated to empowerment. How exactly does the presentation of self as a fashion model and or an object of desire bestow autonomy or individuality? If this is a true introduction to someone who has finally acquired her identity, what's with the Marilyn Monroe trope? Why the exceedingly outward gaze of allure and seduction versus an invitation to look inside?" End quote. Paul couldn't have said it any better. Therefore, let us continue to look inside ourselves and one another and embrace the liberating truth that God has placed there. Amen.